All right, so this is the skills practice, starting on page 124. And I've already opened up the file, and I'm saving it as travel, followed by initials. As you can see, travel RF. So the very first thing is on number 2 is we're going to obviously enter data. Tells us to click in cell B3, which is here. And we're going to type in Jen. Now it goes a little bit out of order, but that's all right. So we're going to go to cell D7. And I have a habit of going to the wrong cell, so a lot of times I'll just type in it here to make sure I do the right one. And it tells us 202,497. Now notice the formatting is set for comma in here. You can see the comma. It's not accounting because there's no $sign. That would be the accounting in there. So that was number B, or letter B. So now we're going to just copy and paste this over. Notice I'm just going to the bottom right-hand corner, the fill handle, dragging it over, and you can see it will fill in the months. That's a series versus a regular copy. Let me get rid of this message here. And that was number 2. Tells us to save our changes. So done that. Number 3 is edit data. So I'm hitting F2 key to do Miami. Now it's spelled wrong. Now in this particular case, the F2 key may actually take longer than to just retype the name. So however way you want to do it, if I want to hit the F2 key, I will do that, and then I will spell Miami properly. Or I could have just clicked in there and typed it in again. So whatever way you prefer, that's totally up to you. That was, we're starting number 4 now. We just did part of it. So now we have C7. We need to go to C7, and we're going to change this to 182,270. And click cell, there it is. And that's the one I was looking for, A17, and enter your name. All right, so I'll save again. Number 4 is copy and move data. So I'm going to select this range G4 to G6. And I'm going to do it 2 different ways. If I want to copy it, the way they tells it to, we're just going to click copy. And then it tells us to go into the clipboard and paste. Now, when I go into the clipboard, you're going to see a lot of different things. So this is something that is different. The last one, these are YouTube videos that are posted. This is from my programming class in here. So all this stuff is here. So I want to choose this one, which is the very top one. And then we need to paste it. Actually, let's go to where we need to paste it, which would be in A10. So that takes care of pasting. If you did not want to do it that way, you could have just gone to A10 and clicked on paste or hit Control V. But this gives you the options of seeing that the clipboard has a lot of different items that you already copied or you cut, and you can change them or paste them at your will to things that not the last one. Control V is only going to paste the very last one in there. So now we're going to delete the labels in cell G4 to G6. And I'm just selecting them and deleting them. Of course, we would have normally just cut and paste in there. So we close the tripboard, use the drag and drop to copy the contents of cell A8 to E3. So here's A8, and we want to go to E3. Now you can copy and paste, which is what I normally do, but since it says drag it, I'm holding the control key down, and notice it says plus. So now I'm going to take it and I'm going to find E8. Make sure that is E3. All right, so now I put it in the wrong spot, and that's why I don't like it. So I'm going to cut it and paste it here. I rarely use that. Now, notice what I did was wrong because now instead of copying it, it cut it and moved it over. So let's undo this, and let's click on copy and paste again. And now we have it right. So again, I'm not a big fan of drag and drop. I always seem to get it wrong. So please feel free to use whatever method that you're the most comfortable with. I'm the most comfortable with cut and paste and copy and paste as opposed to dragging in there. All right, so that is number, close the clipboard, activate cell A8 in here. And then we're going to use the drag and drop. So we already did that. And it gives you a hint on no tree. Well, obviously, it did not work for me because I did something wrong. So if it goes wrong for you, don't feel bad. So we are now going to go to number 5. And we're going to enter a formula auto sum. So we're going to activate cell E4, which is right here. And if I click auto sum, notice it's going to just go all the way over to the left. Stop at the first non-number cell. That is the proper way to do things. Now, as you're doing it, if you look on page 25, you'll see the numbers that are there. So that way, if you don't see the correct number, then you know that something is wrong in there. So now we are, actually, it adds in here. So I use auto sum to enter the expenses in there. So let's go to the month of January in B8. So again, we're going to use AutoSum. AutoSum is the preferred method. Don't do the plus in there. That is going to obviously cause some issues if you insert cells. So don't worry about that. So that takes care of that. That was number 5. Let's save our changes. Number 6, we're going to copy formula with relative references. So let's go to E4, which is here. And then it wants us to copy it down to E5 to E7. So we go to the little fill handle here, go all the way down, and that copies it nice. So you can see this is sum of B4, then this is B5, B6, and B7. Now we are 6B is activate cell B8. And we're going to do the same thing. Copy to E8. And that takes care of that. Let me look over here and everything looks good. Now we're going to copy a formula with an absolute reference. This is starting number 7. So we're going to go to F3 and we're going to type in % of total. So I'm going to do it without the absolute reference first, just to give you a little refresher of why you need to do that. Remember, when you use absolute reference, the cell that has the dollar signs in front of it, that's how you know it's absolute, will not change when you paste it to another cell. It's not going to adjust the columns. It's not going to adjust the rows if you have dollar signs in front of both of them. So in cell F4, create a formula that divides the cell E4 by E8. So here is E4. So I'm hitting equals E4 divided by E8. So that gives us the right percentage. But as I go down, notice the division by 0 because it's saying E5 by E9, E6 by E10. It's adjusting the rows, which is wrong. So let's get rid of this. So I'm not going to hit F2. I'm going to show you another way to do it. If I hit F2, I don't have to do this. But here I'm going to select this here and hit F4. And that gives me everything. So let me show you what that did. And that's also the wrong thing. So let's go, and I wanted to select it all and hit F4 to show you the problem with that. So let's go down here and drag it again. And notice now we get the same thing because it's the same formula. So let's go back in and do it correctly. Equals E4 divided by E8. Now is when I'm going to hit, notice that this is red. I'm going to hit the F4, and that will automatically add the dollar signs for it. So now we should be good to go. And I may have gone a little bit too far down, but the 100% shows that we did things correctly. So I'm going to leave that out there. If you go to page 25, you'll notice that everything is proper. Good time to save our work. Now we're going to enter a formula with multiple operators. So that is, we're going to go to B10, which is here. Now, this is not a good way to do it. So we're going to go back and do it the correct way after it. It tells us to use a parentheses, and I really need to hit the equal sign, then the parentheses. And then if I don't hit the equal sign and I just put in the parentheses in a formula, that's exactly what it's going to put in there. So I'm going to click this, plus this, plus this, plus this, and divided by 4. And that's the correct answer, but that is not a good way to do it. And the reason being, again, is if you go and insert another city in here, maybe these are alphabetical, and you insert the city, and you put something in there, it won't update. Now I'm going to show you what will happen is if you did not put in the parentheses. So what will happen is it will divide B7 by B4 first, and then add these other things. So remember, the order preferences is parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division, and then addition and subtraction. Well, we don't have any parentheses, we don't have any exponents, but we now have division. So this is going to get done first before these get done. So let's see what happens when we hit the enter key. Well, it gives us a strange thing, and that's not the correct answer in here. So let's go back in here and do it properly. Hitting the equal sign. And I'm going to type in parentheses. Then I'm going to put in the auto sum. And it won't let me do it. And that's because you cannot do things within edit mode and then use one of these functions. So you could type in auto sum there, but let's just do it with the auto sum, and then we'll build the formula. So let me click here, choose auto sum, and we want this here, and which actually should be average. So if you do this and it's wrong, all you have to do here is change this to average. But that's not what we want to do. And I think I went too far. So let's go and change this back to B4 to B7. So I'm kind of making mistakes here just to show you when you get the wrong answer, what you need to look for. This is the way I would do it. However, they want you to do it manually in here. So let's go back in and do it the correct way. So let's go according to the way the book tells us to do it. So we're going to do equals divided by 4. Now, that's not a good way to do it. You should use average in here. And that's what I'm going to do in this one. So we want to do maximum and minimum. So it's very easy to do. Just click the cell here. Here's our maximum. And then we select what we want, which is these three here. And that takes care of this. And to do minimum, we just, click the arrow, minimum. And notice what it did was it went up and selected the rows on top, stopped at a non-number cell. But that's not what we want, so we're just going to select this. If you have the wrong range, you can just manually edit it in there as well. So what I want to do here is change this and do the average. And now it went left because it found a number here and nothing here. So we're just going to select this, hit the enter key, and we're good here. Now we don't want to copy it down here because we want the min. So let's go and copy this and do it properly. Oops, I just opened a new worksheet. Let's copy this to here. And now we have the average in here. So do it the way the book tells you to. I just want to explain to you the proper way of doing it. So we're going to select these now, and we're going to copy this all the way over to the next three rows. So I'm looking, and everything looks good over here. So that was number 8, number 9, that did the maximum and the minimum. So now on number 10, we're going to switch to view on the ribbon, which is up top over here. And it tells us to make sure that formulas and grid lines always have the formulas, heading, grid lines and headings there. You definitely want all of that. That'll make yourself think. You can change the view right down here to whatever you want, or you can zoom. You can do all these different things as well. And then it wants us to change the orientation to portrait, I believe. So we go to page layout, and here's our orientation, and we just change it to portrait. That is number 10, making sure I didn't miss anything. Beginning of number 11. Turn on grid lines in post. There's more than one way to do it. So let's go to the page layout view, which we're here. And this is what's going to get printed. So we want to do the headings, and here we want to view them, but we want to print the grid lines, which are these little boxes all the way around there. So let me show you the print preview without it, and then the print preview with it. And there's different ways that you can go into the print preview. So you can do it through page setup, and there's tons of things in here. So here's print preview here. So notice that there's no options there, no grid lines. So if I click on this now, and I go into print preview, now we have the grid lines in there. So it tells us now to change it where we want to go to row 20 in view and page break view. So notice this ends on 17, but we might want to print all the way up to 20. So we just drag that down, go back to normal, and save your changes. And that is everything in there.